Hello, amazing people out there. It's been a wonderful evening when we are recording this podcast, yet it's going to turn out super amazing. The guest for today's episode is Mr. Tarun Bansal, who is one such personality that everyone in the Indian circuit must be familiar with, as he's the one who manages everything behind the stage. I'm your host Narayan, and you're listening to the Aquila View. Starting on, Mr. Tarun is the general manager at Time of Sport, who are proud organizers and sponsors of F1 schools here in India, which is the world's largest STEM challenge. Mr. Bansal typically holds a degree in computer science, which he completed from Amity University in 2010 and joined the workforce the same year, after which he pursued his master's from Jaipur National University in 2016. We're really grateful to have him over the podcast, sparing his valuable time with us and giving insights on how actually it works behind the screen for this lovely competition, Formula One in schools. Without any further ado, let's get into the podcast. Firstly, sir, a huge welcome to what we call the Aquila View family. We're really grateful and honored to have you us with today. So, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good, and trust me, after listening to my own introduction, I feel important all of a sudden. And first thing first, thank you so much for this warm welcome. And I'll be looking forward to the entire podcast, and this feels nice. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. So, firstly, I'd like to ask. This was a question that I probably asked Yashraj sir as well. That how F1 in Schools India chapter started, and what was the exact motto behind starting it, and the whole journey of building this competition into a brand in India right now.
See, there are a lot of aspects attached to it.
Okay.
Of course, I would like to start with Yash Raj's vision only, because he
Okay.
always thought of that his vision clearly says that we have to develop brightest minds in the fastest growing economy.
Yeah.
So, with that thought, we always thought of doing something good to the Indian students, especially. And F1 in schools came into a very, I'll say, correct time. And not if we leave COVID apart, but we'll say that because India is always a growing nation, growing country, and introducing STEM at such a point of a time where it is actually needed, wherein the not
Yes.
only government schools but also private educators are moving towards STEM. Right, that is number one. Number two is that, of course, we always felt that it's not only about that kids they will learn to just design the car, they will race it, and it's end of the story. So it gives you a holistic picture. It tells you that how you can groom yourself. And when we saw the competition for the first time, when we gone through the entire literature, we saw the entire process. All of us felt at the same moment that yes, this is what India needs, and this is what
Okay.
Indian kids they need, and that can be a baby step towards STEM, because the journey is from STEM to STEAM to probably STEAM. So, yes, of course, we have our own things to talk about, because Formula One is not that really famous in India, because there is no Grand Prix, especially for India, and there is a circuit, but it's not functional. But yes, we are really thankful to not only to Indian audience but also to the kids, to also the educators, because when we talk about it, they accept it in a very I say humble manner, and it turns out to be really good the way response has ever come today. Even in the COVID time, kids they bounce back, they show their eagerness, they just love the entire thing, and that's the moment that we also begin to believe that yes, we are doing good to the society, and that's where we also feel that yes, uh, the path we have chosen it's actually correct, and it will do good to not to us only but to the kids also.
Exactly, sir. And probably as you talked about the vision that how probably it would lead from STEM to STEAM to STEAM, right? So, I mean, when we enrolled, we were actually looking up for something like this that includes a holistic process, right? Because when we really enrolled and saw all of these things happening, we actually got to learn a lot of things that, all right, how an actual organization performs, right? Because there are a lot of aspects and multiple aspects involved in it, in terms of like particularly if we talk about the competition, there is engineering being involved, there is marketing being involved, there's sponsorship being involved, right? So I mean, there are a lot of aspects, and everyone has to fit and align with each and every thing that is going on, because each and everything is important. And we can't just ignore, like, all right, that we ignored marketing part so that all right, it would work out. It won't, right? Because in order to have a successful competition, or have success, I mean, have success in anything, it is important to just make that alignment as proper as possible, right? So I mean, that's really great, and we are really grateful that Time of Sports is organizing such a wonderful competition in India, and is successfully able to do it from the past 4 year, I guess. Moving on, as we talked about STEM learning, my next question is that why STEM learning? Why kids from age as low as 9 should be involved in it? I mean, what is that it makes it really important for students to enroll in something like F1 in schools?
So there are two aspects of this particular thing. Let's get down to the age factor first. See, I go to schools and I announce the entire concept in front of kids, in front of principals and everything.
Yeah,
So I do remember a lot of principals, a lot of teachers during my student orientation session.
yeah,
So they always ask me that where were you when we were in schools? So the idea is that it's a really a compliment for us that people with such age who are the principals and the teachers and coordinators, they ask us this, that where were we when they were in schools, right?
yeah,
So that is one aspect of it. Now coming to the exact aspect, which is age number 9. So the idea is that STEM is not something that you define as science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We don't want to really, I'll say, bind that entire thought of STEM in these four words categorically. Why? Because I personally believe that if somebody is a lawyer who doesn't have to do with STEM at all, or somebody who's a commerce background person who doesn't really deal with all these things, his life is still revolving around STEM, right? You
yeah,
cannot ignore physics in your daily life. You cannot ignore mathematics in your daily life, right? You just cannot live nowadays without technology anymore. So the agenda is that if at all you are going to live your life with STEM, then how about you start your life with STEM, right?
exactly.
So the entire agenda is that it's not only about age 9, because the kind of offerings what we are coming up with, uh, we
Yeah,
are looking forward to enhance the skills of grade third as well, right? Wherein he
yeah,
would be learning what logical reasoning is, he would be learning what logical thinking is, analytical thinking, and everything. So I again say, which we always discuss and talk, that age is just a number. It's that
yeah,
if you entire agenda or your goal is to live with STEM, then how about you started from the way you start knowing things, or you started exploring things, then it will be much better. And yes, one more thing I would really like to add in here is that
yeah,
when we talk about age 9 or probably 6 or 7, we believe
yeah,
that this is a lot, or maybe the kids who are there in the school, these are the ones who are very curious, right? They want to
yeah,
know things, right? Earlier in our education system, it was only there is no answer to why, right? I still remember when we were in school, the first thing was let's assume. Okay, and whenever we are solving any kind of theorem or probably any kind of question, let's assume something. None of us ever thought of asking why. Why are we assuming? We are standing right in front of the query and we are going to solve it. And before solving it, we are assuming things. But now the
yeah,
generation who's coming now, they are asking us, why are we assuming? Right? So this curiosity will definitely lead them from where they are actually standing to a better level, right? That's why they always say that the jobs which are going to be there in 2025 or maybe 2030, they're not even created as of now, right? So that's the entire agenda. So if you are going to be, uh, I'll say, not only winners but going to be a good achievers in the future, then of course we say that let's prepare you for that, right? You will find your own way, of course, yes. But talking about STEM, no matter you love science, you hate science, you love mathematics, you hate science, mathematics, but it will be with you for your life.
Exactly. Right. And I mean, as you said that, let's assume, I really recalled what our teachers used to say, that all right, when we were solving a mathematics equation or a physics problem, let's assume that this is x or this is y, right? And I mean, and at that particular moment we really assumed that, all right, in order to solve this question, let's assume it.
Yeah,
But now
yeah,
when we are actually dealing with problems, we the question arises is why, right? And
yeah.
after that why comes the solution. And I
See,
totally yeah.
I just want to add one more thing to this, which I always tell my students as well, that figure out the practical application of what you learn, right? If we talk about CBSE, CBSE is not really aware of what your future plans are, right? That's why they gave you the formula. That's why they said, "Ki, let's calculate the volume of food." And why they say this? We never thought of it. Ki, why am I actually calculating the volume of food? Because
Yeah.
CBSE is not very well aware that maybe in the future you want to be scientist, or you are in the middle of planning a missile, or you are in the middle of planning a rocket, and at that moment you just can't Google ki what is the volume of food or what is the volume of cylinder. That's why they prepare you for the initial bit, right? But we never thought why CBSE is doing that. Now this generation wants to know. That's why the entire agenda is, if you really want to know, get down to the practical application of whatever you're learning, right?
Yeah.
Now schools are coming with that thought that they should have a laboratory for mathematics as well, which is a
Yeah.
good thing. And yes, that's
Amazing,
that.
sir.
Hmm.
And I mean, as you said that you have to live with science forever, right? And even if I mean, there's an example that even if I opt for a humanities background or a commerce background, and I plan to pursue my career in a finance industry, and but at the same point I have a knowledge of STEM, or say for suppose computer science, then it probably would add on to my career. Say for suppose if I want to launch a fintech company in future, right? So that would really boost and enhance whichever thing I really want to do in life, right? Because I mean, say for suppose I want to do business, but in order to set up that business I need to create some channels and systems, and that would include technology. So I mean, that's an amazing fact that you told, that science would be there for you forever in whichever industry you go, because it's involved in our daily life. But here, if we particular talk about India, I mean, we just need to change the way it's being educated, or the way being it's taught to us, right? It's the whole rote learning process that we've been taught, because whole our 11th and 12th we are just in between those books, studying physics, chemistry, and mathematics, going to coachings, and everything is just between that. But I mean, science is beyond that, and science is that comes from exploration. And when you explore things and you apply things, it really, I mean, helps us connect things.
Yeah. On the same note, I also want to say that, see, as I said, curiosity is very important. And I really want to congratulate not only to the higher authorities but to government of India, that the way they are bringing in the new education policy,
Yeah.
NEP, which is 2020, and they are encouraging on few things which was supposed to be extracurriculum previously. Now they are the main part of the curriculum. So that's where it is going to. And yes, talking about science, the idea is that if you are curious, you can take science to a bigger level where it is right now, right?
Exactly.
Because I see that science has got a lot of things to discover yet. For example, if I ask you that, you know that there is planet, there is galaxy, there is Big Bang theory, but
Yeah.
nobody knows where that Big Bang theory took place, right?
Exactly.
There has to be a place where Big Bang theory happened, right? So what is
Yes.
that place? Science never defined which is the largest thing, and science never defines which is the smallest thing, right?
Exactly.
So the entire agenda is that, yes, we know that the planet Earth takes 365 days and 6 hours to complete one round. That was the theory given by somebody years back, but are we onto the same timeline now? So that's what the entire agenda. If you are curious, you can take science to a better level. For that, it is very, very important that you got to stay curious. That's why they always say that, irrespective of what designation, what position you are on, if you are ready to learn, you can do good to yourself and to your peers and to probably to your friends as well.
Definitely, sir.
Yeah.
Coming on to Formula One in schools as a competition. I mean, recently the World Finals happened, and you are probably the pit display judge. So, firstly, how was that experience of being a judge in a World Finals, World Champions thing?
So this was my third year in a row. I was with the F1 in Schools World Finals 2018 Singapore as well. I was there for Enterprise Judging.
All right.
And then for 2019 World Finals, I was their verbal presentation judge. And for this year, I was the pit display judge. So overall, of course, yes, this is a very, very different experience. Why? Because you yourself get to interact with a lot of country people, a lot of kids from different countries. You get to know that how they perceive, how they understand these scorecards, how they see things right differently,
Exactly.
which is a kind of a learning for you as well, right?
Exactly.
Because when we come back to India and then when we mentor all our kids, we share the experience, of course, yes. So, of course, this is something really, really fruitful for us also, for my kids also. And when we talk about F1 in Schools World Finals, this World Finals was exceptionally great for India,
Yeah.
categorically. And the results speak for themselves, number one. Number
Yeah.
two is that as a judge, my biggest responsibility, which I always say, that whenever
Yeah.
I go there again for a learning purpose. I want to explore that. That's why I tried that I don't fit in one kind of a judging criteria. Like I started with enterprise, then verbal presentation, and now Pitbull. So the idea is that I am also trying to grab everything possible so that I can make my kids understand that what judges they look for. So with that intention, it's always good to be a judge, and eventually that's what my job is all about. And
Yeah.
so yeah, of course, yes, and of course it gives one level of good feeling as well.
Definitely. Right. So, I mean, this was the question that I asked Mr. Yashraj before the World Final happened, that why aren't the Indian teams winning awards, right? But now, probably after the World Finals, I mean, as you said, the results speaks for themselves, right? The best pit display award, the best project management award, I mean, also the best innovation award, right? And all of these things have really opened minds for Indian teams as well, that all right, we are capable of winning awards at the World Finals, and even we are capable of winning the World Champions Trophy and bringing that home. So, I mean, sir, what do you think led us? I mean, us means all of these Indian teams to win all of these awards. I mean, how have we significantly improved from the previous year?
See, this is a very small message to everyone is that follow the scorecards. Uh, Eventually, see, if you'll understand, the biggest irony about the competition is that if you will win the race, you don't win the competition. However, to win the competition, you need to win the race. So when we say this, we mean that the races are only of 250 points, and rest
Yeah,
750 are based on the scorecards what you have. Right? As a
yeah,
team, you always have those scorecards. So how about
yes,
you sit back, you have all your project elements. Why don't you judge first?
exactly.
Before you submitting anything, you judge for yourself. You see how many points you score. Right?
Okay,
See, the agenda is that as judges, we have to give points based on those scorecards. If you know the scorecard, you understand the scorecard, you perceive that scorecard in the best way possible, you say at the end of the day that whatever scorecard is asking me to do, I have done that. Right? So automatically you will get points. Right? Because judges are not allowed to give points how perfectly you have done something. Judges are only allowed to give points if in case you have done something which scorecard is asking you, right?
Yeah.
So that's the only agenda that can make you win. Of course, yes, races are an integral part of the competition. They are that is the competition. But
Yeah.
when we say who is going to win, so somebody who will win will only win if he has got the maximum points out of those 1,000 points. And in that 1,000 points, your scorecards do play a very, very significant role because they hold 75% of the competition. So my entire focus was, and my entire focus is, that the teams who are going to represent India in the years to come, we will
Yeah.
only tell them that please read those scorecards on your own first.
Exactly.
Tell us what you understood. Then we'll try and tell you that what exactly it means, right? The
Exactly.
idea is that in the World Finals there is a term called benchmarking, which is
Yes.
right. Now you have done best, the other team has done best, but who will get number one position? If you are in the given, your scorecard is submitted. If you are in the higher band, people who's going to the competition in the years to come or in the national finals, that please follow the scorecard, whatever it is saying, do that. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming on, my next question was, that's the biggest thing I particularly got it now, that all right, do your best and judge yourself.
See, the idea is if you had to compare all of this, then there is one more thing I would like to add.
Okay.
Uh, See, what happens is that a lot of teams they give us brilliant content, right? And they showcase each and everything possible.
Yeah.
But as I told you, there is something called benchmarking. Now, what is this benchmarking? Benchmarking is something that stands you like in a way I have not seen before, or this has done exceptionally out of the box, right?
Yeah.
Or imagine, just for an example, if I say, you tell me about me in a paragraph form, or you tell me something about me in a pointers,
Yeah.
and you tell me something about me in an infographic, right? Obviously, the content is same, but as judges, I will retain the infographic,
Yeah.
right? And that will talk much more about you as well because you have put in an effort, you have created something different,
Yeah.
and then you figured out which is important and you never messed up with the content. That's really, really important,
Exactly.
right? So all these things they count a lot. Of course, scorecards are the primary factor.
Exactly.
Secondly, which I really want to say is that as judges, we see a lot of things. Like I have seen a lot of things in 2019. Now I go back in 2020. I see again a lot of things.
Yeah.
Then I always say I have seen this in 2019. So the idea is you can always take references
Yeah.
from the previous winners, from the teams who have competed before, but try and bring in your own flavor into it. So
Yeah.
that judges doesn't feel कि ये तो देखा है.
Yep.
I've seen it before.
Exactly.
Right? If something unique, something original, if you can bring in, then of course there is no comparison to that. So
Exactly.
of course yes, bring something new, follow the scorecards, and of course yes.
Amazing. So, moving on, we definitely had a session about marketing and sponsorship, right? But this is a question that I specifically want to ask because it's been a long journey since we have been involved in sponsorships and getting sponsors on board, right? So, what according to you should be the best ROI plan a team could give to its sponsors in order to get them on board? Because if you consider the all of the ROIs that as a team we make, and we make a sponsorship prospectus, we approach sponsors, we had a contact with them, but the results come out. The results are pretty different because the point is that they do not feel that. They do not feel that they should give in because they probably do not feel that the audience is not right or the audience is not that much big. So according to you, what should be the best ROIs that a team should plan and give out to its sponsors?
That's a very session-based question you have asked,
Yeah.
but I'll try to keep it short as much as possible. See, first thing first, it's very important for every team to understand that when we say marketing, we are basically talking about F1 in schools marketing.
Yeah.
The reason is that you are the brand ambassadors now. because you are participating in the competition. Who best knows about the competition than you, right?
Yeah.
So you are the brand ambassadors. So whatever you'll speak in the market about F1 schools, that is going to be the story, right?
Okay.
So that's number one. Number two is that you should probably market with a sense of promoting F1 in schools rather than promoting your own team first.
Yeah.
Okay, because see, the idea is people will recognize Formula One in a first go,
Yes.
right? So that's the backhand thought about it. Coming to sponsorship from here, now see, there are three things. There are three stakeholders in a way. I'll say one is your prospective sponsor,
Yeah.
then is you, and then there is another prospective sponsor. If you really want to plan a high ROI model,
Yeah.
then plan in such a way that your two sponsors can collaborate and you are the bond between them,
Okay.
right? For example, if I say, like, you collaborate with Mitsubishi,
Okay.
right? And then you collaborate with Toyota,
Okay.
right? You say that if you will give an ROI to Toyota, the winners will probably get Mitsubishi tires. Or if you get something in promotion for Mitsubishi, now you are setting that connection between Mitsubishi and Toyota,
Okay.
right? Imagine if you tie up with, let's just say, some Faber-Castell. Okay, Faber-Castell is a company
Yeah.
that provides stationery products, right?
Yeah.
So now you tie up with some NGO. Now these NGO people, they always need a lot of stationery material. How
Exactly.
about you tie up with Faber-Castell, you tell them that your product will be in direct reach to the people who are in need. Now your story will build,
Okay.
story for Faber-Castell will build,
Okay.
story for that NGO will also build. Why? Because you are making an effort.
Okay.
Faber-Castell can always say that we donated this and this.
Okay.
You can always say that with the help of Faber-Castell, we donated this and this to NGO.
Okay.
NGO can always say that because of Faber-Castell or because of Team Aquila, we have got this and this. So
Okay.
all these mutual stories will build a different ROI to your perspectives.
Yeah.
Every team can think of giving logo spaces on T-shirt, on cars, and everything,
Exactly.
right? The best idea is that you should probably understand what is the target audience of your prospective sponsor,
Yeah.
right? And if you cannot build that, because obviously you will not do sales for them, right?
Exactly.
You will not do sales for their company.
Yeah.
But how about you try and build some kind of market for them,
Okay.
right? That's the basic idea, right? That's why we always say try and find the companies who are in the direct fit. Now,
Exactly.
when I say direct fit, it's like the companies who are working with Formula One, like Honda,
Exactly.
like Mercedes, like Ferrari, like Red Bull. They are in the direct fit.
Yeah.
Then the companies who are working for the products which are made for kids, like Horlicks, like Bonvita,
Yeah.
right, Maggie, right. So they know their target audience is directly you. So target them because they know that even if you're not going to do sales for them, you can at least build market for them, and that's what they want.
Exactly.
That's what they want. If you look at Coca-Cola, they spend much thoughts on building their advertisement. And just somebody moving them from his screen, it gave them a tremendous amount of downfall.
Yeah.
I don't know you know this or not,
Yeah.
but
Got the point.
imagine, see that's the entire agenda, right? So you cannot do sales, but try and see if you will come with that thought to a sponsor that, sir, we know your target audience is
Yeah.
like just say 15 to 18,
Okay.
and this is what they do, this is what they play, this is where they go and read, this is their good time pass. So even if we pitch your product, we display your product to these places,
Yeah.
it will do good to you. So your sponsor knows that you are well aware of their product, you are well aware of their audience,
Yeah.
and you are well aware of the outer audience as well.
Exactly.
So then of course it gives a good ROI to sponsor what you're looking forward to. And if you can establish a collaboration, which I gave you an example, then
Exactly.
nothing like.
Right. And I mean, that was the best point that I really got out of this recording. right? That establish a bond between both of these things and try to have a collaboration. That's something that is pretty unique, and that is what they're looking up for, right? Because as you gave the example of Faber Castle establishing a relationship with an NGO, that could probably be a CSR activity for Faber Castle, and also the NGO would be benefit out of it, and we could definitely establish a bond or connection between them. So that's really a unique return on investment for the company. Moving on, I guess. We talked about that how much important is STEM education is important for all of the kids who are as low as 9, right? So what would be your opinion on why kids aged between 9 to 19 should enroll, particularly for Formula One in schools as a competition? And if they do so, I mean, obviously there are a lot of things to gain out of it, right? And but what if they do not enroll for this competition? So, what is that one particular thing that they'll be missing on for sure?
One thing, okay, this will be tough, but see, yeah, one thing is going to be tough to say, but of course, yes, the idea is knowing you in a better form.
Yeah,
That's what I think. Right?
exactly.
I know myself, but do I really know my capabilities? So, see, why I say this, I have got a reason to back this.
Okay.
When you go back or you see the entire presentation of F1 in schools,
Yeah,
the first impression that will come in mind is that it's about Formula One, so I am going to race the car, right?
exactly.
If you go back in the presentation or anywhere, there are six roles in a team,
Yes.
and surprisingly, ironically, there is no racer in the role,
Yeah.
right? So, if somebody is looking at very closely, he or she will probably imagine, I am talking about Formula One, I am talking about racing. Where is the racer in the team?
Exactly.
So the agenda is that's what we are also trying to say that if you will participate in F1 in schools, you are a racer, of course, that is for sure, because you are participating in it.
Yeah.
What else you are? These are the six roles what we're talking. You can be a team manager. So that clearly shows that if you're not participating, maybe you are missing on to your own leadership skills
Yeah.
that you have not explored till yet, right? Uh, if I'll say sponsorship manager, then lot of convincing skill, presentation skills, maybe you are missing out on that. If you
Yes.
are a design engineer, then of course the indentation logic of the like the designing and then understanding the physics behind it, aerodynamics. I still remember teachers of lot of schools telling me कि तरुण हमें तो कभी लगा नहीं था बच्चे इतने अच्छे से aerodynamics हमें समझा सकते. So again, the agenda is again the same. If you are pointing out, let's only target to one, then I'll say you are miss out. You will definitely miss out on the fact that uh, you will probably know lesser of you if you will not participate. That's
Yes.
what I will say. Because with F1, you can always say that I am going to be a racer. I will race. I will race. But
Exactly.
in the entire program, we don't say that in a team there is a racer because we believe everybody is a racer.
Yeah.
What else you can do? Let's figure that out for you.
Exactly. And probably if I want to add something on to that is that you gain a lot of skills, right? Because even if I'm hosting this podcast, I'm enhancing my communication skills, right? And and throughout this journey of my personal journey of F1 in schools, I have learned a lot of things personally, right? Just from communications to obviously how things work in a team, and obviously about engineering and cars and racing, right? But I mean, particularly a skill that I have really, I mean, gathered out of this thing is the communications part, because it really includes a lot of communication things, be it sponsor or just be it recording this podcast, right? So that's a great thing, I guess.
Yeah.
uh, Lastly, to conclude this podcast, I guess it's been around 40 minutes that we've been talking. Nationals are approaching, right? So what would be your one piece of advice for all of the teams listening to it in order to be the national champions?
First thing is that stay calm.
Okay.
Yeah. because I know that this is a difficult time, and I know that all of us have been there inside their rooms and all from all I don't know from past 1.5 year or so.
Yeah.
So first thing is stay calm,
Okay.
and second thing in terms of competition,
Yeah.
my simple suggestion is please go through your regulations very carefully.
Yeah.
Uh, your competition regulation, your technical regulations, very carefully.
Exactly.
If you think you have read it once, please, I request you to read it twice. If you have done it twice, then I'll request you to read it one more time,
Okay.
right? But read those regulations, and in those regulations, you have those scorecards,
Yes.
right? So please read those regulations very carefully. And if you want to take references, you have Google available, you have got all social media available. Take references from previous teams. That is not a problem. But bring something new. Bring something that talks about you categorically as a team. So that's a simple piece of advice I would really like to give to all the teams, and I will be looking forward because, of course, this is going to be different this year.
Yeah.
Last year we were not able to have races,
Yeah.
but this year we'll definitely have races.
Amazing.
So yes, um, I wish all the best to all the teams who are coming to FRN Schools India National Championship,
Yeah.
and I wish you all the best. And
Thank you so much, sir.
let's see what is coming next. But yes, fingers are crossed.
Exactly. So, I mean, whosoever is listening to us, first thing that please be calm, and second thing, as you mentioned earlier as well, that obviously stick to the scorecards and read all of the regulations at least twice. And if you've read it twice, please go through it once again, right?
Yeah,
By this, we have definitely came to an end of this wonderful yet very insightful and powerful episode, and it was indeed a pleasure having you, Mr. Tarun, over the podcast. And we hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as we did recording it. Till then, stay tuned to the Aquila View. I'm your host, Narayan, signing off.